All right. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'll start to get going since we only have limited time, and I want to make sure that we get to everyone's questions and get through all of the content today. So wonderful to have you all joining us. My name is Tori Ring. I'm the Veterans Services Coordinator with We Honor Veterans. For some of you, I might be a familiar face or voice or name, and for others, I might be new. So welcome to everybody. You'll see my email address is also in my name right here. So if you ever need to reach out to me directly with any questions, you're always welcome to. I'm also the person who primarily responds to the veterans inbox as well. So if you've ever had a question and reached out there, chances are you got a response from me. So let's just go ahead and get started. We're gonna focus today. First, I'm just going through an overview of these changes and a little bit of an overview of the level 5 requirements. So that's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we're going to spend the second half answering any questions. So as we go along, feel free to jot down a question or put it in the question and answer section, and we'll definitely spend as much time after as we need to going through all of those questions. All right, so like I mentioned, we're going to cover the requirements for level 5 today, and then we're also going to go over the new cohort system and some of the updated materials that we're coming out with for level 5. Just as a reminder, level 5 is the only We Honor Veterans level where we do require you to maintain membership with NHPCO. So this is all of the other levels are completely free and available, but level 5, we do require you to be an NHPCO member. If you're not sure if you're a member, definitely reach out to our solutions team. You'll see their email here. I should also add, I will send out the full PowerPoint after we're done today. So you'll also be able to refer back to these slides, get any of these emails or links or anything like that. So don't feel like you have to quickly write anything down right now, because I'll definitely send out the full PowerPoint. So again, just reminding everyone that you do have to be an NHPCO member to achieve level 5. Just to quickly go through some of the other resources that are available to you all as both NHPCO members and level 5 partners. NHPCO offers a ton of really incredible educational programs. There's something happening nearly every day of the week. I actually just had the opportunity to participate in the manager development program with NHPCO, which was really wonderful. And I highly recommend it for anybody who's maybe thinking of becoming a manager or new to being a manager in hospice. Really a great, valuable program. We also have our advocacy department. So we have a lot of policy work that goes on, a lot of work with the Hill. We have our regulatory and compliance work. We have our quality department. And then, of course, we also have our annual conferences. So our next conference is going to be our interdisciplinary conference, and that's happening pretty soon in April, which is a month away, but also feels like tomorrow. So that's going to be for our interdisciplinary direct care providers. And then in September, we also have our annual leadership conference. So that's going to be in September. And then also just a reminder that we have our My NHPCO communities, which are a really wonderful resource. This is a professional networking community. So you're able to join a number of different communities, whether it's based on your discipline or based on something that you're interested around hospice care. There's a ton of communities that are all really engaged, and it's a way to kind of connect with others, share information, ask questions, any of those sorts of things. So hopping into some of the updates, since I'm sure that is probably the primary reason so many of you are here today. So the full details on these updates are all available on our website. This is just kind of the screenshot of the site. So if you go to the blog section, you'll see this level 5 partner updates, new cohort system, and updated materials as the first article in our blog. And this really provides a walkthrough in detail of all of the changes and updates that are happening. So highly recommend reviewing this if you haven't already. We also sent this out to all of the We Honor Veterans primary contacts via email as well too. So you might have already seen it there, but it's also going to be housed on our website for the future if you ever need to refer back. And I also included the link to it, which you'll be able to click on once I share the slides with you after today. So our level 5 cohorts. I feel like this is probably the biggest change that's coming with level 5. So I want to spend a good amount of time speaking about this and then later answering any questions about this. So previously, our completed level 5 reports were due 1 year from the date that you last submitted your level 5 report. Or if it was your first time completing level 5, 1 year from the date that you committed to completing level 5. So this meant that there were a lot of different due dates for every organization, and this was both hard for us to keep track of and also created unnecessary confusion for all of you too, because your due date might change year to year. And if you had multiple locations, they might all have different due dates. So to combat that, we created the cohort system, and this is really aimed at improving both the integrity and the accessibility of our level 5 program. So if you were sorted into the spring cohort, then your level 5 report is going to be due annually on April 30th. If you were sorted into the fall cohort, your level 5 report is due on October 31st annually. And so we determined which cohort you were going to be sorted into based on the date that you last submitted your level 5 report. So this ensures that everybody has at least a year to continue to work on level 5. But some of you might see that based on this, you might have a couple extra weeks while we transition to this cohort system. So of course, everyone has at minimum 1 year, but a couple of you might find that you have a few extra weeks with this new due date. So then following the due date, we have a review period. So this will be the period in which us as the We Honor Veterans team is reviewing these reports and providing any feedback to you in case there are any areas of your report that need some revisions. And then we will have all of those revisions due on June 30th and December 31st, respectively. It's important to note too that we are working on returning to some of our pre-COVID standards. So if your organization does not submit your level 5 report by the due date, or your report is disapproved and you're not able to complete these revisions for approval by the revisions deadline, then your organization will be re-ranked at level 4. And this is really aimed at, like I said, both returning to our pre-COVID standards of having a year-long level 5 process, and also ensuring that the partners that are turning everything in on time are receiving the recognition they deserve. Also important to note that if your organization is re-ranked at level 4 at any point, you are still more than welcome to pursue level 5. And more information about what that re-ranking process would look like and entail exactly is available on that blog post. But don't feel like you're ever barred from level 5. If you're re-ranked at level 4, you're still more than welcome to continue to pursue level 5 on your next report due date. So our timeline, like I mentioned before, everybody has 1 year to submit their completed level 5 report. You'll never have less than a year. There's only the possibility, like right now, due to this change to the cohort system, that you have slightly more than a year, but we are really trying to stick to reinforcing the 1 year limit on our level 5 reports. Related to this, we're also no longer going to be providing automatic extensions. I know this is something that we were able to do during COVID. We were providing some automatic 6-month extensions, but like I mentioned, we are trying to return to our pre-COVID standards. And so going forward, we're not providing any automatic extensions. And if you have any sort of extreme circumstance or something going on, you can reach out to us and request an extension, and this will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So some of the updated level 5 materials, we are fully aware that level 5 takes a lot of work. We know it can feel burdensome at some points. And so we wanted to come out with some resources and tools that are really aimed at making it easier and more clear for how you complete level 5. So some of these things that are either coming soon or are available right now include our refreshed and reformatted level 5 template and level 5 renewal template, which we'll glance at in our next slide. And this is already available. You can get it through that blog post that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. But soon it will also be available on our updated level 5 requirements webpage. So the webpage that you are probably familiar with, if you go onto the We Honor Veterans website, and go to earn your stars and then go to level 5, you'll see our level 5 requirements webpage, and it has a lot of the existing resources that we provide to help you with level 5. And so we're really just kind of working on giving that a little bit of a refresh, making sure that all of the material is easy for you to understand, that we have tools that are helpful for you, all of those sorts of things. You're also going to be able to view your cohort in the partner portal. So when you log in, you'll be able to see whether or not your organization is in the spring or the fall cohort. So those two items are things that our website team is just putting the final touches on, and they should be live on our website very soon, but they're not quite up just yet. We're also going to have a video overview that provides step-by-step guidance, just really teasing out each of the level 5 activities and making sure that it's easy to understand, and that you know what we're looking for each of these particular activities. And we'll get into some of that content a little bit later in the presentation. And then we also developed a checklist that's going to help you keep track of your level 5 progress, and I'll show you that towards the middle of the presentation. And then we also have sample level 5 reports. So these are going to be reports that were completed by previous level 5 partners that did a really good job, and just a good thing for you to be able to refer back to if you're ever uncertain about what we're looking for one of these requirements, or just want to go over what a successful level 5 report looks like. I also want to add too that there are no major changes to the level 5 requirements and activities. Overall, all of the activities and requirements for level 5 are staying the same. The only changes are really small kind of tweaks to improve comprehension, and make it a little bit easier for you all. So this is our updated level 5 report template. This is just kind of a little sneak peek at it. So some of you might have already even been using this or seen it on our website, but you can access it via this link, which you'll be able to click once I share the slides with you. I also just kind of want to reinforce the importance of using either our template or some other sort of hard copy to keep track of your materials for level 5. Our website has very limited storage, and we have, as many of you I'm sure are aware, almost 3,000 partners, not even including our recruits. So that's quite a bit of storage that we're storing on our website. And since that's limited, unfortunately, our unsubmitted or in progress reports can only stay up on the site for 90 days. After 90 days, that information that you might have input into your unsubmitted report will be removed. And for that reason, we're really encouraging you to use one of our templates as a way to keep track of everything that you're doing throughout the year. This template is also updated to include some added language just to make sure that each of the requirements are clear to you and you have a good understanding of what it is we're looking for, and answer any questions kind of that we've gotten over time about some of the requirements. So one of the minor changes that we are going to be seeing is an update to the mentorship agreement. So first off, the mentor roster is going to no longer be located on the public end of the site. Going forward, it's going to be inside the partner portal. So this means that you're going to need to be signed in to view the level 5 mentor roster. And this is really aimed at making sure that all of the contact information of our partners is kept safe. So we wanted to put it behind the partner portal rather than having it on the public facing end of the site. The previous roster is going to be removed and updated. And then we also updated the consent process for you all to agree to be listed as a mentor. And you can see that below here. And this is just aimed at ensuring that all of our mentors are really capable and confident of being able to provide guidance to lower level We Honor Veterans partners. So I'll just read this quickly. The mentor agreement now reads, by agreeing, you assert that you have a firm understanding of the We Honor Veterans program and are capable of providing guidance to lower level We Honor Veteran partners. You also assert that you have been your organization's We Honor Veteran primary contact for 1 year or more. So that's really the only change that we're seeing there, just to ensure that all of our mentors are well versed in We Honor Veterans, and to also ensure that we're keeping their contact info safe. All right, so communication. I just want to make sure that everybody is keeping an eye on your email. Our website team is working hard to make all of these updates on our site. And like I mentioned, a lot of them are kind of in the finishing stages and will be live really soon. So we want to be sure that we can send out an email to all of you to update you when these improvements are live, and to just contact you with any other updates that need to be sent out throughout the year. So not only keep an eye on your email, but also just make sure that you're double checking that your primary contact information on the We Honor Veterans Partner Portal is up to date with your most recent contact information so that we're sending the emails to the right place. All right, so getting into the way that we have refreshed the level 5 requirements a little bit. This is one of the ways that we've kind of reorganized them. And again, the requirements and activities have really not changed. We've really only made extremely minor tweaks to improve your experience and comprehension, but overall, all of the requirements are exactly the same. And so this is kind of a little sneak peek into some of the refreshed material that we'll be seeing. So this is the level 5 activity breakdown, and you'll see we have 4 main sections that each of the level 5 activities fall into. We have the organization education, community engagement, the volunteer program, and data collection. And then each of these have several activities within them. So this is a really good checklist, that checklist that I mentioned earlier, for you to be able to keep track as you're going through the year of what things you've completed and what things you still need to do. And it's also just a useful way for kind of understanding and thinking about the level 5 activities overall. So coming up, we'll go into each of these in a little bit more depth just to kind of tease through it, but I won't spend too much time because I want to make sure we have time for all of your questions at the end. So like I said, our first subsection of level 5 is the organization education component, and you'll see each of the requirements right here, and then we'll just kind of go through each of them in detail right now. So we have the staff and volunteer trainings, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. This is one of the primary components of We Honor Veterans is staff and volunteer education. And so of course, you're welcome to use any of the resources that are on our site, but you're also able to incorporate resources that might come from an outside source, whether that's PsychArmor or a local VA program or something that you develop yourself, as long as it's veteran-centric and end-of-life focused. Then, of course, we have PsychArmor's 15 things. So this is something that we're asking that you include in your staff training and orientation. We have our Vietnam focus trainings. So we want to ensure that on your first time achieving level 5, you're ensuring that all of your staff are completing the PTSD, moral injury, and suicide prevention webinars. And then on your renewal of level 5, we tweaked the guidelines around this a little bit. We want to make sure that any new staff are reviewing those 3 core trainings, but then any staff that have already viewed those trainings don't necessarily need to view them again. Instead, we have other options that you can use for your ongoing Vietnam focused education. And like I said, this is only for level 5 renewal, the ongoing Vietnam focused education. And this kind of graphic on the right is an excerpt from the level 5 renewal report, which you can view on our site, that just kind of provides what the different options are for your ongoing Vietnam education. Then we're also asking that you have a relationship with a VA accredited agent or VSO. We ask you to complete the VA fact sheet, which is a guide that includes information for a variety of the different departments that you might need to contact within your VA. And so we ask that you complete this and upload your completed fact sheet to the level 5 report. We have our screening guide, and this is a guide that's intended to support organizational development of screening and interventions for trauma-informed care. So here we're asking that you review this screening guide, you implement it into your patient care plans, you utilize the screening tools and relevant interventions with all your patients as needed, and you also provide a brief summary of how you have implemented the screening guide into your care plans. We have our standards of practice. So we're asking that you review the NHPCO standards of practice and then just provide us with the number of staff that participated in this review. So then we get into our next section of level 5, which is the community engagement component. So here we're asking you to complete 3 community engagement presentations, one of which includes a panel. And for this section, we added a little bit more language just to clarify exactly what we're looking for. These events can be held at a variety of different venues in your community, and they can have a goal of whether it's improving awareness, creating partnerships with your local community orgs, or potentially even recruiting volunteers. Any of those are completely valid goals. And we also, like I said, ask that one of these be a panel. And I think the term panel discussion can feel a little intimidating, but really a panel just means that you have 2 or more presenters presenting and answering questions on a particular topic. Then we have our vet to vet cafes. So we ask that you host 4 vet to vet cafes, which are really just a very casual opportunity to bring veterans together and offer them a space to discuss their experiences. I actually was just speaking with one of our aspiring level 5 partners yesterday, and she was telling me how they've actually had a vet to vet cafe in place that's been running for 9 years and has been incredibly successful and supportive to the veterans in their community. So these are really, really well liked within different communities. Then we ask that you have community and or statewide events. So one of these we require to be a Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day event, and the other one can be an event of your choosing, whether it's participating in some sort of community service, such as putting flags at a cemetery, participating in a parade. We see a lot of really creative ideas here too. We had one organization that was on a radio show spotlight for their community, so lots of different things here. Then we have our volunteer program. So we're just looking for a little bit of information about what your volunteer program looks like. So we're asking specifically for the total number of veteran volunteers you have, the orientation process, including any formal and informal training that volunteers go through, and details of activities that your veteran volunteers participate in. I always like to add for this section too, that we require that you have a veteran volunteer program, but we don't necessarily require that you have a certain number of veteran volunteers. And that's just because we recognize that different communities have the ability to access different numbers of veteran volunteers. And then our last section of level 5, we have data collection. So here we're just looking for you to provide us with data for a couple different areas. So this is, again, exactly the same. We're looking for the number of veterans that you've served, the period of service they were in, if they were enrolled in the VA or receiving VA benefits. This data, we're also looking for it to be kept track of over a 9-month period at minimum. It can be more than 9 months, but we're looking for a minimum of 9 months. Then we also have our Vietnam-focused veterans data. So we're looking for how many veterans while on service were treated for PTSD, were treated for moral injury while they were on hospice care, or treated for suicide prevention on hospice care. And then you can just provide a brief description of what treatments were used. This section, we're just looking for some information about your pinning ceremonies. You're welcome to give a couple examples or summarize them, provide some photos, flyers, number of participants, all of those sorts of things, and then also provide us with the total number of veterans pinned. Then the data workbook. So this is one of the other minor changes we made. This is no longer a required component of level 5. It's still going to be on our site. It's still going to be there for you to use, but you're no longer required to turn it in. But if you'd like to use it to keep track of your data, you're more than welcome to, and it'll continue to stay on our site for your use. And then our last component is the annual report. So this is a really great way for you to just summarize all of those activities that you completed throughout the year to give us an idea of your We Honor Veterans Year in Review. This is also great for people to share with your community, share with your organization, just to show everything that you have done for veterans throughout the year. So you can highlight a veteran volunteer, provide information about best moments, the number of veteran volunteers you had, the number of veterans you served, maybe a patient who really stuck out to you, any of those sorts of things. And we have this template available on our website. So that is the presentation. I'm gonna put out a quick little poll just to get a sense of how we're doing. I know that change can be intimidating, especially when it's in regard to a program that I know that you're all so dedicated to. So we just want to make sure that we're communicating this to you in the best way possible and supporting you as we go through this change. And definitely feel free to reach out to us at the veterans inbox or my email directly with any questions or comments or concerns. So I will just take a minute to launch this poll just to get your feedback of how you all are feeling. All right. So it seems like people generally are feeling pretty good. There's some people who feel that they're ready to go, and some of you feel you need to review the information a little bit more, which is completely understandable. And like I've mentioned, I'll send out this PowerPoint. We have all of these things available on our site, and anything that's not quite live just yet is going to be communicated to you via email once it is live. So let me just end this poll.